So the reality is we have a lot of tools available, and every year there's more and more tools that are becoming available. So a common one when it comes to e-learning is Articulate. That's a very common software that's being used to build e-learning. Well, that software has the ability to apply elements of inclusivity and accessibility. So the idea is to make sure that you apply them, but look for norms. You can even Google them or ask an AI tool to come up with what are the best practices, what are the accessibility norms that should be applied to my learning, and you can adapt the learning easily. Most tools will allow you to do this. You just have to get familiar with those accessibility standards, and then you will respond to this. Now, the reality is there's more and more tools being available, and it's just going to keep coming. So it's not so much the tool that you use as having an awareness of the standards you need to apply to make the learning accessible. So I encourage you before you start, just look it up, research it. It's readily available. It's not hard to find. Start with AI. They will give you the best practices, and be aware of who your audience is. Now, if it's online, if it's in a virtual environment, there are standards for that. So you may just want to be able to apply things. Now, depending on where you are in the world, a lot of people will take training in a language. For example, English is a language of instruction in many, many countries where English might not be the primary language, or where English might be a second, third, or even fourth language for some of the learners, even if you're in English speaking countries like Australia, Canada, US, or others. If you go to Europe as an example, in Europe, um, there's only two countries, UK, Ireland, that has English as a primary language. Most other countries have their own native language, but they use English as a common language of communication and often instruction. So you have to be aware also that although the learners have a certain level of mastery in English, it might not be their primary language. So being language aware might mean to use words with a degree of difficulty that's a little easier. Often we say we should have the learning between grade 6 and grade 8 level, where a lot of material sometimes is university level. And although someone might be well educated, it's not the case for everybody. Not all the coaches have gone to school a long time. Or they may have learning disability, and some of the words might be a little complicated. I see too many modules in physiology for coach education that have words like glucose, glycogen. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. But if I use, instead of the word blood glucose, I use blood sugar. Ah, okay, circulating, you know, uh, sugar in your bloodstream. So often, one of the things that I do to be aware of who my audience is, some of which don't have a lot of schooling, is to make things a little more simple. Sometimes oversimplifying in instruction, in education, is a good thing, but giving them the meaning of words, so the choice of words, maybe having a transcription, will be helpful. And there's all kinds of other standards, but just be aware that a lot of our learners actually don't have English as a first language if you instruct in English. And being aware of that makes a big difference in some cases.